I bought my dream house exactly 32 days ago. It's a beautiful Victorian-style home on the edge of town, with oak floors, high ceilings, and a wraparound porch. But like every dream, it had a hidden corner, a basement that felt a few degrees colder than the rest of the world. In that basement, tucked behind the furnace and a stack of rusted pipes, was a door. A small, heavy wooden door with no handle, only a rusted keyhole. The realtor told me she didn't have the key. She said the previous owners had never mentioned it. For 3 weeks, I managed to ignore it. I told myself it was just a crawl space or an old coal chute. But curiosity is a disease, and I was terminal. It started on a Tuesday night. I went down to move some boxes, and for a split second, I saw it, a sliver of neon blue light flickering through the crack of the door. Blip. It was gone before I could blink. My rational brain said it was a reflection. My idiot brain said I needed to know what was behind that wood. Part 2. The forbidden entry. I tried picking the lock myself, but life isn't a movie. After 2 hours of failing with a paperclip, I did something even stupider. I hired a guy named Gary off Facebook Marketplace. A lock specialist, he called himself. Gary arrived, picked the lock in under 2 minutes, took his $50, and left. I stood there, heart hammering against my ribs, staring at the now unlocked door. A smart man would have bolted it shut. I, however, am an idiot. I turned the latch and pushed. The door didn't lead to a closet. It led to a narrow, pitch-black hallway that seemed to stretch further than the house itself. I found an old brass light switch and flicked it. The hallway was lined with peeling wallpaper, patterns of faded circus tents and balloons. At the end of the hall was a spiral staircase leading even deeper into the earth. "My basement has a basement," I whispered, my voice sounding hollow. I followed the stairs down. Part 3. The chamber of primary colors at the bottom. I hit another switch, and I nearly went blind. The room was perfectly square, but the walls were painted in the most aggressive, garish shades of primary red, yellow, and blue I had ever seen. It felt like standing inside a giant, vibrating crayon box. And there, in the exact center of the room, sat a jack in the box. It was large, made of rusted tin, painted with the face of a laughing clown. I walked toward it, drawn in by some invisible thread. As soon as my hands touched the cold metal, the handle began to turn on its own. Do, 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 do. The nursery rhyme filled the room, but it was distorted, slow, like a record player losing power. I tried to pull my hands away, but it was as if the box was magnetic. Do, 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 do. The lid began to tremble. The music sped up. A thick, viscous blue liquid, like glowing syrup, began to ooze from the seams. It smelled like copper and rotting meat. The smell hit me like a physical blow. Part 4. The birth of the monstrosity. Suddenly, the lid flew open. There was no spring-loaded toy inside. Instead, a bulbous, pulsating mass of blue flesh began to rise. It grew rapidly, shifting colors, bones snapping and resetting with the sound of breaking dry wood. The blue ooze transformed into a colorful, striped jumpsuit. The raw muscle tissue sprouted a shock of tangled, blood-red hair. It wasn't a toy. It was a creature. I scrambled back, my boots slipping on the blue slime now covering the floor. The creature stood up. It was impossible. It was 7 feet tall, but its spine was bent at a 90-degree angle. Its long, spindly arms ending in oversized blue-gloved hands that twitched with a life of their own. It looked at me. It didn't have eyes, just two hollow sockets leaking that same blue slime. "Pop," it whispered. The voice sounded like someone gargling glass. It took a step, its giant shoes making a wet, flap thump sound on the floor. I turned and bolted up the stairs, my lungs burning. Part 5. The nightmare in the hallway. I reached the top and slammed the door, leaning my weight against it. But the lock was gone. Gary had picked it, remember? I felt a heavy thud from the other side. Flap thump. Flap thump. The creature was on the stairs. I screamed for help, beating my fists against the door that led back to my main basement, but it was jammed. It wouldn't budge. I turned around just as the door to the circus room creaked open. The clown squeezed through, its joints cracking as it folded its massive frame into the narrow hallway. It pointed a long, twitching finger at me. "Pop." It gargled. Blue spray flew from its mouth, hitting my cheek. It burned like acid. I closed my eyes, waiting for the end. I felt a cold, wet glove brush against my face. And then the door behind me swung open. Part 6. The Vanishing Jesus. "Are you okay?" It was Gary. He had come back for his forgotten phone. I fell backward into his arms, sobbing, pointing into the hallway. "There's a monster, a clown. Look." Gary looked. I looked. The hallway was gone. The primary colors were gone. The door now opened into a tiny dusty closet, no more than 3 feet deep. It was empty. "Hey, calm down," Gary said, helping me up. "Whatever was in there must have run off. You're shaking, man." He looked at my face and frowned. He reached out and wiped my cheek with his thumb. "What's this? Some kind of blue paint? Man, that's a bright color." He showed me his finger. It was covered in that glowing, foul-smelling blue ooze. Part 7. The aftermath. I sent Gary away. I didn't care about the phone or the money. I locked the basement door. I dragged my heavy oak couch in front of it. I moved every heavy box I owned to block that corner. But I'm sitting here now, in my bedroom, and I can still smell it, that copper and rot. I looked in the mirror 10 minutes ago. The spot where Gary wiped the blue slime, it's not just a stain. My skin is starting to turn that same shade of neon blue, and from the basement, deep beneath the floorboards, I can hear a faint, rhythmic sound. Do-do-do-do-do. It's waiting. I think I didn't lock it out. I think I locked myself in with it.